Okay, I think without further ado, we should introduce tonight's speaker, Greg Carnegie. Greg will demonstrate several simple techniques to raise the quality of your images using Photoshop. His program will use a number of examples and will offer a demonstration of writing 2 Photoshop actions to speed your processing. Effective use of layers will be the focal point of the discussion. Greg has been a photographer for over 40 years. His early photography years were spent as a studio and independent photographer to pay his way through college, which I must say, my only claim to fame is I went to the same college Greg did.
What college?
Monteith College, small little, yeah, Wayne State, good old Wayne State. Kind of modeled after Antioch and a few other colleges. Small independent.
Go sing with me.
You went to Monteith?
No,
Wayne.
Wayne State.
Okay, all right. Greg then pursues a career in education, computing, passing through many generations of equipment, from kit computers to network systems. He was a columnist for the largest Michigan education computer newsletter for over 10 years. His experience with Photoshop goes back to version 1. Maybe it was 0.9, wasn't it? Presently with his wife, the great Sue, right here, Greg serves as photographer for the Ann Arbor Symphony and several other community organizations. As well, Greg has given us many presentations over the years, and we're just thrilled that he just never runs out. So, without further ado, Greg Czarnecki.
Well, it's great to be back again to share with you some ideas about using Photoshop. Tonight we're going to be talking about 4 easy ways to improve your photographs in Photoshop. But our first thing I want to do is I want to take you through a little bit of an exercise. You know, I've shown this picture. And there are, I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is a wonderful portrait of a young girl, but there are problems with this print. Maybe you can give me some of the things that are wrong with the print. Yes?
The edges have got weird stuff on them, the paper clip and other things around the
Okay, okay.
It needs to be cropped so you don't have the tears.
Okay, there we go. Then we have 2 things now.
Lens flare,
But
got a lot of dust on it,
Got a lot of dust on it.
really bad lens flare.
Okay, all right.
Kind of washed out.
It's washed out.
Color, color and contrast, and color cast as well as saturation.
Okay. We've got about 8 or 10 things. Anything else?
Well, tears or something.
The tears, all right, obviously that, sure. Sure.
There's, because I think those are tears. There's some white patches in the grass. And, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Is
Actually,
that,
she needs a lot of standing out from the background. She blends in too badly.
uh-huh. Those are all good suggestions. Anybody pick up what color cast is wrong?
Yellow is
Yellow?
Color chips off.
Yellow, which one? Green, yellow, green?
yeah.
Okay. Now, my question to you is, how do you know these things? How do you know these things are wrong with this picture? Where does that come from?
Experience.
Experience? Okay, where else?
Classes.
Memory? Okay.
Classes.
Classes? Little voice in your head? Okay, that's important.
You look at the light-colored, neutral areas, and that will tell you the color of the cast.
Okay, okay. Okay, so you've given about 5 or 6 different places that this comes from. Your single most important tool in working in Photoshop is what you see in your mind's eye. Because you have to have an imagination, a visual image in your mind of what you want to achieve in Photoshop. Without that image in your mind, you're just wandering in the desert, in the Sahara. So that's your single most important tool in working with Photoshop. When you see a really good print, study it. Every detail you can pick up, black and white or color. because that's developing the picture in your mind's eye. And that's the real strength you take into working with Photoshop or any program. So that's as far as I'm concerned, for me as working with this stuff for years and years, what you see in your mind's eye is the key to what you can get out of all of these tools. Let me connect up my computer here. We're going to be talking a little bit about retouching tonight and how I work with some of my images and some tools that really work well and they're easy to use.
You want to turn it down?
Yeah, why don't you set the lights? All right, let's see. Now, this is, I know you'd want to see what the final image looked like. That's what the final image looked like. But this is beyond the scope of this class, all the retouching things that I've done with this. But I thought you'd want to see what it looks like, how it finally came out. It's a beautiful portrait. Okay, let me get to my first image here. There we go. These are some local fellows out in front of the Coliseum taking a tourist for his money. I photographed that last summer. And I want to show you, I use a couple of tools all the time for lightening and darkening images. And at the end of the class, I'm going to show you how to write a program to do this thing. But I want to show you how I handle, I've got about a dozen images here, and I'll just go through and show you how I'm using these tools. And after I finish each image, you can ask a question or whatever you'd like. A basic rule in working with pictures is the eye is drawn to the lightest part of the image. So you tend to want to darken things like the edges. So I've got this little program, Spot Dark here. See, I'll just go around. I don't know how that's going to show up. I'll show you before and after as I do each one of these images. His shoulder's a little light here, a little bit there, a little bit around the helmet there. Oh, we've got the bald head on this fella. I know all about that. We'll darken his hands a little bit. And a little bit behind him here. You know, these scenes that are taken on the run, you can't control things very well. There's a limited amount that you can do with this sort of image. You can see I'm darkening up the sky a little bit there. A little bit more here, a little bit on his arm. Okay, I'll flatten that out. Now, let's lighten a little bit. Around here, and there, here. Let's bring out this other fake gladiator here, and over here. So let me show you what this looked like at the start. I'm starting out with a really simple retouching kind of thing. It'll get more involved as the pictures go on. Okay, so that's the beginning. Oops, a daisy. And then here was the end. So you can see some of the things that I've done there on that image. Go on to another one. Okay, this is a photograph from Zion National Park, and it's a few minor things I want to work with it. The sky is a little bit dark. I want to lighten that a little bit, so let me use a little bit of lightening here. I want to draw a little bit of, well, I want to lighten here a little bit too. Okay. And I'm going to take this back just a little bit. I found that when you use tools, even sharpening, that if you reduce the opacity a little bit, it blends in better. So that's another good tool in working with Photoshop. It's often to back off on the opacity a little bit, and the black background tends to blend in. And it's even good in sharpening. Let's see, I want to darken some sections here. I don't want to draw quite as much attention to this part of it. Darken a little bit of that. Over here. And I want to darken this tree a little bit to make it more prominent in the picture. Okay, back off on the opacity a little bit. Okay, let me show you what before and after looks like with that. So there's at the start, and then here's at the end. That doesn't seem to be wanting to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to bring this up here. There we go, that's a little easier for me to work with. So there's the beginning, and there's the end. So it's easy to go through and retouch these pictures and change them quite a bit as you do them. Let me take you to another one. This was taken near Carnegie on our recent Zion trip. I'll show you. I want to draw a little bit more attention to the horse. So let's do a little bit of darkening here. So we're going to vignette this just a little bit. Show you a little bit before and after here. I want to back this off a little bit though. Oops, let me take this back a step. Reduce the opacity a little. Now, let's go. That's what it looked like at the beginning. That's what it looked like at the end. It's a little too dark. Back that off a little bit more. So it's more subtle. Now, does anybody have any questions as I'm going through these? No? No problems? Yes, Joe?
Yeah, I'm seeing two different opacity things. There's one at the top that says 23%.
Right, I'm going to go
And
through and explain that. That's the strength of the tool, of the brush tool, that one. This one that you see over here on this side, this is the layer, the strength of the lightening and darkening.
Okay.
So those are the two opacities that you're seeing. Okay. Yes?
You've got actions, what is in there besides something a dodge and burn?
Well, let me talk a little bit about dodge and burn here for a second.
Isn't that what you're doing with light spot and dark spot?
Yes, but let's go over and take a look at the dodge and burn tools a little bit here. Let's see. That's the blur tool. There we go. There we go. One of the problems with the dodge and burn tools is that you set your, whether you want to work with shadows or highlights or midtones. It's a little bit slower to work with than these actions that I'm going to show you to right. And I found that the actions are much quicker to work with. When you take pictures in an event that you have 150 pictures to process quickly, afterwards, the action that I have then to show you how to write is much, much quicker in processing those images than the dodge or burn tool in Photoshop. This is a typical kind of event photograph. It's about half stop overexposed, and that's pretty much normal, but we'll even this out. These are three very talented people. That's R.E.A. Lipsky on the left, the conductor at Ann Arbor Symphony. Julie Albertson, she was a cello soloist. And on the far right is Bob Albritton. Albritton. He was conductor of the Pioneer High School band for many, many years. But let me show you how I handle this. Now, skin tones are very interesting. White people with white skin, the skin tone is really brought out by the shadows. But when you have black people, the skin tone is really brought out by the highlights. So you really kind of reverse things. We don't have to do a lot of work with Bob's face, but let's clean up Aria here a little bit. We'll even this out. A little bit like so. And Julie. That looks pretty good. Back that off just a little. Okay. Let's do Bob a little bit. Just a little.
You're lightning him.
Yes, I'm lightening him now. It's a little too much. Okay, and I want to adjust his just a little bit here. It's a little bit of a flare here. That's too much. So we've got the three faces pretty much equaled out. We've taken a shot that's really a half stop overexposed, cleaned it up pretty well, and made it quite useful. This is Antoine Hackney from the Ann Arbor Symphony. He's a violist. I always pronounce that wrong. Really talented guy. And I'm going to do some little lightning here.
Graduate of Pioneer High School.
Is he a graduate of Pioneer? Really? I didn't know that. Okay, I want to back that off just a little bit. See, we got before and after. Brings out the structure of his face a little bit more, makes the picture a little bit better. All right, let me show you another one. This is a picture I took at Zion National Park a couple years ago. It's particularly light in this section and in through here, and I want to try and bring out the colors a little bit more. So let's do a little work on this. And of course, this foreground here that's so light, your eye would be drawn right to that foreground. I want to darken that out there. I'll hit those reds a little bit harder.
You're darkening right now?
I'm darkening, yeah.
How is it that you can tell you're darkening? I mean, it doesn't show it's selected, does it?
Yeah, right there, you see the difference.
Well, there's
Oh, you
the
can
layer.
see it, but I'm
I
looking
used
at,
this, what I clicked on was an action I've written called Spot Dark. And we have Spotlight. I just gave it that name.
but when you
Called
click on
Light.
it, it doesn't like highlight or it doesn't,
That never does.
No,
You
because
have
what
to-
I'm brushing in is really a multiply layer.
no, I understand that. It's just
Okay.
you can't tell what tool you have selected.
Well, here's the brush tool.
Well, you can't tell whether you're light spotting or dark spotting or, I mean, looking at the action board, it doesn't.
So if you walk away to it and come back, you have to actually do the action to tell which one it is.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, it's obvious, you can see what effect it
Okay,
is.
you can see what's going on, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you want to name your layers.
You can name the layer.
Yeah, there you go, you can do that. Okay, that's that part. I want to create a little bit more depth, so I want to darken this mid area here a little bit. So I want to do a little bit here, just a little bit. And I want to leave this section light back here to create a little bit more feeling of depth. So that's really easy and quick to do. So what this has done, there was a discussion in the Camera Club about using graduated neutral density filters. And you can really replace a lot of those graduated neutral density filters and not have to go through the hassle of trying to get them to work on location in Photoshop by using these lightening and darkening tools. So it really works quite well. Let me show you another picture. In this particular scene, the rock face here was a reflection of the sun hitting another rock face across the road. So what I want to try and do with this one is I want to try and bring out more of this by darkening this section around it. So I'm going to do some darkening here.
Is 23% a standard that you use?
What I'll recommend you do when you write your action is to give an opacity of between 20 and 30%, and you'll develop a feeling for what works best with you. I like around 23, 24%, but it's pretty flexible. Okay, now, there's another little part. I'm going to take this cloning tool, and I want to get this rock out of here a little bit. This is a little bit of an alternative sort of action, and let's do a little bit of that. But let's go back here, and I want to lighten the center section just an itsy bitsy bit to bring that out. Now reduce the opacity on that. Okay, so I can show you this a little bit. I'm doing these really quick. Okay, that's what it looked like at the start, and I think you'll agree that it's quite a bit more dramatic photograph after you've done that. So it's really quite easy to do. So as you can see, you can make quite dramatic differences in your pictures quite easily. Another picture from a recent trip to Zion, and there's a few things I want to do with this. I want to darken this. I want to vignette this thing. Darken this center section here. Whoops. Oh, that's not working right. I'm misclicking the button. There we go. Now it's right. Okay, let's reduce that quite a bit. And now I want to create a little bit more interest in this center section, right here. There's the opacity just like so. Now let's go back and take a look at what we've done. So that's the original image, and that's the changed image. So it's a little bit coarse in how it's done. It's a little bit too dark here at the bottom, but that's just a quick version of how you can create a little bit more interest with that picture. Okay, this is a picture I took last spring in Oregon. Wind was blowing pretty good, and it was kind of a wild scene. This is called Thor's Well. And I want to make a few changes to this one. Let's see. First of all, I find this really irritating. I want to light that up just a tiny bit there so it blends in just a little bit better. Just about that. And I want to try and make this water a little bit more exciting. So I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit. Bring out a little bit more of the intensity of the scene. Okay, back that off just a little bit. Okay, now I want to darken the sky just a tad.
So Greg, you're putting this in with 23% opacity,
Right.
and then you're backing off again over on the
Right,
right-hand
yeah.
side.
I found that when you reduce the opacity like that, it tends to blend in better.
But you're using two different controls.
Right, I'm using.
And they're in series, I guess you could
I'm
say.
using what I call a very weak brush to do this, and then I'm reducing the intensity. So you get a feel for what you want to do after you've done this a little bit, whether it needs more or less. Just want to work your way through. These are really fun tools to work with, and I found them just terribly productive. They've raised the standards of my pictures a lot. It's been quite good. And then I'll show you the last image that I have here, which is this one right here. This one needs quite a bit of work. There was some kind of fog floating around over here, so let's lighten that up just a little bit here. And it's a little dark in this section right over here. Let's lighten that up. It's taken early in the morning. Okay. Back that off just a little. Okay, let's create a little bit more excitement in this water. Let's lighten this up a little bit.
Is your action creating an extra layer, a new layer, and then merging it at the end?
Yes, I'm merging it down at the end.
Ah, okay.
Okay. I want to darken the Watchman here just a little bit, right there. Okay, I want to back that off. That's the name of that mountain in the background. It's called the Watchman. And then I want to lighten, create a little bit of avenue for the light for the little bit of visual image there. So your eye is kind of drawn up towards the Watchman. Okay. Now, I'll show you what this looked like at the beginning. Okay, that's what it looked like at the beginning, and those are the changes that we made. So it's really pretty quick to
Yeah.
do this.
So was there an actual action that merged them?
I kept flattening the layers as I went along.
Okay. And what happens if you don't? I mean, you just end up with several layers, right? I mean,
It really doesn't work right because you got one layer acting on top of another layer with a mask. So it really, you need to flatten it after each one. Yes, Julie?
How did you merge the layers? I do it a different way, and I didn't really see how you did it.
I was using a keystroke command,
Oh,
Command E.
Command E?
Yes.
Oh,
Or you could use flatten image or, you know, the tools. Let's see, it's under layer here. Yeah, we've got merge layers, flatten image. Use
So
that.
once you merge that, you can't go,
Well, you could go back through the history. and
You can go
redo
back
it
through the
again.
history, but
I often will if I've got something that I don't like.
right,
And,
but
and you can use history layers too, you know, it can get quite involved with Photoshop as Photoshop goes. There's no depth to, no end to the amount of things you can do with Photoshop. Yes?
you created a tool, an action spotlight. What is the difference between selecting what you want to lighten and using curves to do it?
You could do that also. It's a little bit slower to use that way because you'd have to, you know, put your marching ants around it and select it. Yeah, you can do that, sure, that works. That works very well. But this is quick. Like, again, if you've got lots of images to work with, these are very, very productive tools. They're good retouching tools. I use them for events, I use them for landscape photography. They're really pretty neat. So let me show you how I write these. It's really pretty straightforward. And you have your sheet, you can follow me with me if you want. So what you want to do is you want to make a new layer. Or actually you want to tell it to start recording, but I'm going to skip that.
why are you gonna skip it?
Oh, all right, I won't skip it. All right. Here we go. Okay, new action. So you notice I clicked up in the corner the actions tab there. I was there. I just lost it. There we go. Now it's back again. Okay, new action. And I'll just call it test. Okay, and it's actually recording. So we want to make a new layer. New layer. Okay, mode, we can tell it to multiply here, or once the layer's there, we can do it there. Okay. So we've got made a layer. See, it shows it down here. Now, the next key action is to make the mask. And you need to hold down a key on your computer when you do this. Okay, so on the Mac, you want to use the Option key, or on a Windows machine, you want to use the Alt key. So I'm holding down the Option key, and I'm going to click on the mask right here. See it down at the bottom there? And that will reverse the layer. And then you can begin, well, you want to select your brush tool. There we go. Adjust the opacity. Oh, you want get a nice soft brush. Pick that out. Adjust your opacity to whatever you want. And then you go back through it and you click on Stop Recording. Whatever it is. Spot. Stop recording. And then see, it's already got the action all set to go. It's not terribly hard to do. So this, I can only demonstrate these in front of you. You're actually going to have to go through at home and tinker around a little bit. As I said at the top of this, that writing a Photoshop action may seem a bit daunting at first, but with a bit of trial and error, it's easy to accomplish. So they're not terribly hard to do.
So once you do that, that becomes part of your portfolio.
Right, that becomes part of the tools that I use.
And every time you punch that button, it's going to bring up a new mask layer.
Right, and it's ready to use. I'm going to do it right now for you with the, let's see, where is it hiding here? There it is, just darkened. See, it's ready to go.
How did it get there? Is that
I
alphabetical?
clicked on play.
No, yeah, I mean, just why in the order it's there?
Oh, it can be moved around quite easily.
Okay,
Yeah, you can drag those up and move them.
just happened to place it.
Yeah, it just happens to place it. It always places it right at the very bottom. Yes.
When you clicked on the mask and you said you reversed it, what does that mean?
Well, if you just tell it to, let me show you what I mean. Okay, if you don't reverse it, what you've got is just a layer that's in multiply, and it's going to look like that
Okay.
if you don't reverse it.
Okay.
What are you reversing?
The
Mask.
The mask.
So instead of
See?
a white mask, it's a black mask.
I just did it, and now I can just, darken.
You remove the matte paint white.
Yes.
Oh,
So
it's,
I'm jumping you through a little bit. This is kind of a little bit of advanced Photoshop training. But if you tinker around, if you've got some time and work with this, and Mel, I can see you're excited. It's a good tool to use, and Pat, I found this really a terribly useful tool. And I hope I was able to show you how excited I am about these lightening and darkening tools, because you can do just amazing things with your pictures very quickly and easily in using these. And of course, again, it eliminates the need, for me at least, of using graduated neutral density filters. Because I can, simply do it in Photoshop afterwards.
So you say this is better control than the actual burn and dodge
Yeah,
tools?
because what the problem is with burn and dodge is you have to select whether it's midtones, highlights, or
Yeah.
shadows. With this tool that I've just shown you here, this just allows you to just do it right across the board.
Okay.
So what you're really doing is dropping a multiply layer or a lighten layer on it, and it works very well. I can see everybody sufficiently bored, lost.
No,
No.
No?
lost.
Has this been worthwhile?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Can you show some, you don't have to explain them,
okay.
but can you show some other actions that you use? I mean, just like you showed darken and lighten, you've got a whole bunch of them there.
Yeah, I've got some sharpening actions that I
Okay.
use. These are ones that I don't like. That's a quick add, 5% saturation.
Okay.
These are some ones I use with JPEGs. They're these contrast things. Well, I use for
So it's
events.
it's across the board. Anything you can, anything that you can do, you're just simply recording it. And
Yes.
then using that to perform it again.
Yes. One of the ones I use all the time is for web, converting images to 72 DPI. All the time I use that one. It's an automatic action. I just have all my pictures in the folder and I just turn it loose as a batch action. And it changes everything to 72 DPI for being on the web. It works great. So, once you get into writing these actions, you can write actions to do whatever you want to do if you have a lot of pictures to process.
So I'm sure I missed something or two.
Okay.
But how do you make these into actions that you can reuse?
You just
You just
Wait.
did.
Just did. When you click Start Recording, you can follow that sheet. You click on Start Recording, and then anything that you do after that is creating an action.
See, he just made a test darken.
And then, when you click on Stop Recording, your action will be up there with your actions, whatever name you've given it, and you can reuse it.
Okay.
But it takes a little bit of tinkering, this is kind of a kind of a leap for you. This is a little bit from a kind of an advanced Photoshop leap. Assuming you've had 2 classes in Photoshop, you'll be ready to do this. But you haven't.
Well, I repeated Photoshop 1 a couple times. Does
Okay.
that count?
Okay, but these, I've gone through these instructions several times, and I have faith in them.
Okay.
That I think this will work for you. But you may take a little tinkering on your part to get it to work. But these have been fun. If you want to fall back, hang on for just a second. If you want to fall back to just using the dodge and burn tools, those are fine. Or if you want to create a little bit of a highlighted area with your marching ants, that works good too. The only thing I'd say with the marching ants is you want to feather it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a soft brush. If you feather it, it works great. Yes, Steve Mark?
Yeah, you normally shoot RAW, and we made the demonstration here on JPEGs. Basically, I think most of the time you would use your RAW and do this thing, and only convert to JPEGs once you want to print or send them to something else, right?
Yeah, I usually use TIFFs, come out raw in the
Okay.
TIFF, and then do this with TIFFs. For the sake of quickness and presentation, I just use JPEGs tonight.
It works faster, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And Keith helped me out in changing everything from Adobe RGB to sRGB, and obviously it worked great.
Yeah, we were showing some slides the other day, and he had converted his to the sRGB, and the colors were...
Had a strong magenta cast. Yeah. So, yes.
I'm curious about this revitalize to 300 DPI, kind of sounds like that mythical enhance button.
I was using a program called Revitalize. I was testing it out. And it changed everything to 72 DPI automatically. And I work in 300 DPI, so I had to, this is an action that takes the 72 DPI over back to 300 DPI is what that did. And it's an action you can write, once you get into writing these actions, you can write and do almost anything.
I just thought it was a magic button that would just put resolution back into a...
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Just
Wouldn't that be
revitalize
great?
everything.
Anything that will improve our pictures.
Yeah, right, but for that, we just follow.
Yeah, it's just a miracle. But the last comment I wanted to make is that and it goes back to the beginning. There was a time when the digital cameras first came out that were there were good ones and bad ones and low resolution. But now, basically, all of these cameras are really good. I don't know of anyone that's particularly bad, maybe the little tiny point and shoot or something. And all the printers are really good these days. So if your images aren't good, what's the weak link? Maybe something Washtenaw Community College can help you with more training. Or maybe it's you. Maybe you need to find out in your mind what's a good image so you can visualize what a good image is so you can work towards that in Photoshop. Because again, unless you have it in your mind, unless you can see it, in what you want to do, you just can't get it out of here. So, anyway, that's my, yes, go ahead.
Once you set a tool up, say a spot lighting,
Okay.
can you go back and you say did 23% opacity in the tool? Can you, if you change your mind, can you go back and change that in
You
the
can
tool,
go up.
or you have to kind of
Well,
start
when you're
over
working
again?
along as you're doing it, you can always go up in your history and go back up a step or two.
Okay, so you can.
Okay. Or you can go back through and rewrite your action. You can actually rewrite the whole thing, or you can edit your action.
You
So,
can also
it's
just turn
work-
on the dialog box.
Yeah.
You can just click on the dialog box so that whenever you start the action, you'll open the brush panel.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully I've introduced you into a part of Photoshop you haven't tried before. You're not going to break anything, in there. And it's got, you can highlight your action that you've created, and there's up at the right side, there's actually, you can draw down and says delete. So you can get rid of it if it's a dud and clean it up. Yes, Pat?
It might be good to remind people, I always forget to stop the recording. So once you're in an action, you have to be very focused on what you're doing.
Did I put that step in the bottom there? No.
So,
Did I leave out stop recording?
Nope, it's step 9.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Are there any extra copies and handout in the room? I didn't get one.
Oh yeah, we'll be sure to give you one. Sue has some extras here. I came with 30.
Is there a way you can see the actions, the script for the actions?
Oh yes, sure. Sure. I have it in what's called button mode at the top here, but you take it off of button mode.
Yep.
Okay. And then see, here's all the steps that's included with spot dark right here.
And can you change those?
Yes, you
You
can go
can
back through
edit
and edit
those?
those, sure.
I mean, like where you picked 24, I think, for your first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can go back through and change those.
Again, if you click the square, that square that's next to it, it'll then stop there and present the dialog box to you when you play the action.
Sure.
And that way you can then, every time you run the action, you can take different choices.
Photoshop is just an amazing tool. It's like a bottomless pit of things you can do. It's a learning curve that doesn't end. It's just amazing. So I've introduced you to something new that I use all the time. It may be over your head, but may not be. If you try and experiment a little bit, maybe you can get it to go. So, but I use this all the time. It really helps my photography. So anyway, the 4 things, again, are study a good print when you see one, learn what's there, develop your skills in your mind, adjust the opacity a little bit because it tends to blend in a little bit better. Even on sharpening I found that works. It tends to blend in a little bit better. Adjust the layer, and then the lightening and darkening actions. Those have been very useful for me. So, thank you for your attention.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Yes, Pat?
Is there any difference in the way actions work between 5 and 6? CS5 and 6?
I don't think so, Terry. Is there any difference between? I don't think so. No.
The same? Okay.
No. Okay.
All right, great.
All right.
Well, thanks so much. I guess brings the meeting to conclusion.